Now call Stuart Stevenson, 7 minutes.
Thank you very much indeed, Presiding Officer. And let me start by thanking Patrick Harvey for securing today's debate. I'm grateful for the opportunity to present my thoughts on the report of the Transport Infrastructure and Climate Change Committee into the potential benefits of high-speed rail services. The committee is to be congratulated on the quality and depth of its report. It's a comprehensive and far-reaching report which presents a number of challenging recommendations and actions for government and for others. I very much welcome the committee's findings. The report has clearly set out the environmental benefits to be realised from the development of a high-speed rail service between Scotland, London and onwards to Europe. It presented compelling evidence that high-speed rail services not only offer lower per-passenger carbon emissions than aviation, but that with their shorter journey times can create a real shift from air to rail travel. Because there is no question that from central Scotland in particular to the south east of England, it was one of the most densely operated air routes anywhere in Europe and an absolutely prime candidate for converting much of that traffic to high-speed rail. I also note the committee has concluded it is no doubt that high-speed rail would bring significant economic benefits to Scotland. During my evidence to the committee on the 16th of December 2008, I stated my agreement with these points. I fully believe that high-speed rail will deliver substantial economic benefits and key climate change advantages. During that session, committee members were keen to discuss the role of both the Scottish and UK governments in supporting the development of high-speed rail. And it's absolutely right that Patrick Harvey, in his opening remarks, Presiding Officer, focused on the need of neighbouring administrations to work closely together. So I agree that the committee's recommendation that the Scottish Government needs to clearly articulate a long-term vision for planning, funding and construction of a high-speed rail network, and that we should take a strong role in promoting high-speed rail and supporting any project through its to completion, hits exactly the right policy buttons. The committee also recommends that it is essential that the Scottish Government makes further progress in articulating a detailed policy vision for a high-speed rail scheme. We agree that having a policy vision is an absolute key to developing the case for high-speed rail. And of course, in working towards this vision, it will be necessary to consider many of the issues raised in the committee's report in closer detail, and in the involvement of the many stakeholders who gave evidence to the committee. Patrick Harvey again spoke of the need for political consensus, and I am very pleased, as others will be, I am sure, by the broad support for high-speed rail already demonstrated in submissions to the committee from people outside politics who engage in the life of wider Scotland. I recognise that while the report considers that there may not at this early stage be a consensus about the proposed route or any potential development options, there does seem to be an emerging shared agenda with many stakeholders recognising the benefits associated with high-speed rail and supporting its development. If we have got principled agreement, then I think we have the environment in which we can develop the detailed responses to the requirements. In developing a clear policy position, the Scottish Government will of course reflect the committee's position that we need to consider the most suitable routes for high-speed lines and how they could serve both Edinburgh and Glasgow city centres. We must ensure that any high-speed rail network connects effectively with the existing rail network to allow the whole of Scotland to benefit from any new high-speed link, and indeed be ambitious that it reaches every corner of Scotland eventually. Perhaps Kyle of La Harche will be a little while away. And while we must ensure that the development of a high-speed line does not divert resources and attention away from investments and improvements in the current network at the same time. Having considered the proposed second national planning framework, one of the Parliament's recommendations to the Government was that a high-speed rail link between Scotland and London should be designated as a national development. Current and ongoing investment in the rail network can help to pave the way for high-speed rail, and in that context I note the committee's recommendation that the West of Scotland rail enhancements proposed as a national development in NPF2 should take account of the potential for future integration with a high-speed rail network. We are considering all these issues in the context of NPF very, very carefully, and our findings will be published later this spring. We will set out the changes made to the NPF2 in response to Parliament's recommendations in a statement which will be laid before Parliament when we publish NPF2. Policy will also be informed by ongoing studies, particularly Greengage's 21 high-speed rail development programme, and in the first report of High Speed 2 due later in 2009. And of course, we are working very closely with HS2 at official level to ensure that Scotland's voice in this is heard, that the decisions that have to be made on online upgrading or totally new routes, of how you connect both of Scotland's significant central belt cities to the network. There are a range of options, and we need to have a serious and informed debate about it. We will be influencing the policies beyond our borders, and I know that there is an open door to discuss that subject. I know the committee will meet Lord Adonis and Sir David Rowlands of High Speed Rail 2 in the near future. I shall be meeting Lord Adonis tomorrow. I think these are important connections. We have an enthusiast in Lord Adonis. I too am an enthusiast for the railway network. I will listen with very great interest, Presiding Officer, to the contributions of members today.